Hi guys, Nika here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a more advanced balance druid guide, perfect for those of you who already have the basics down. If you're brand new to the spec, don't worry, I've got you covered. I'll drop a link to my beginner guide down below, so you can start there if needed. In this video, we're going to break down some key advanced tips to help you push your gameplay even further. First of all, a little bit of a disclaimer. I only play Mythic Plus. I don't raid Mythic anymore, so this guide is fully focused on the Mythic Plus part of balanced druid. So we will cover important buffs that we need to track, when we need to pull Astro power versus when we want to spend it, how to use our utility, because balanced druid is not only about DPS of course, and how to play balanced druid in pugs, tips for adapting when you are not in a coordinated group, and also some nice macros that will help our gameplay even more. So stick around and let's get into it. First things first, there are some really important buffs that we need to keep an eye on if we want to understand how balanced druid gameplay works. I've got them listed right here and we're gonna go through them one at a time. Let's talk about Starlord first. It's a passive that gives us 4% haste every time we cast a Star Surge or a Star Fall, lasting for 15 seconds long. This can stack up to 3 times, so that's a total of 12% bonus haste if we keep the buff up. But here's the key part. Gaining a new stack doesn't refresh the duration of the buff. So what you want to do is avoid spending Astral Power right before the buff is about to expire. Instead, pull Astral Power during this time until the buff drops off, and then quickly cast 3 Star Surges back to back to instantly ramp back up to full stacks. So at the start of this video, you see I'll pull Astral Power, and as soon as I send a Star Surge, you see the Starlord stacks in the middle of my screen. You want to have 3 stacks as fast as possible. Then you start to pull your Astral Power, you hold it because the buff doesn't refresh. Then as soon as the buff drops off, right here, you have Astral Power, so you can immediately spend them again to get 3 stacks. If you are about to overcap and your Starlord is less than 2 seconds, you can cancelaura it, so you can immediately send your full Astral Power bar into Star Surge to get 3 stacks again. The cancelaura macro for Starlord is these days not that necessary anymore. Back in the day you used to do it on single target for DPS gain. This is not the case anymore, but it's in my system, so I thought I still mention it because it makes your gameplay smooth if you do it at the right timing. If you don't worry, it's not a DPS gain or loss. Next we have Balance of All Things, also called both, which gives us increased crit chance with arcane or nature spells by 20%, decreasing over time. Because we play Elun's Chosen, we get increased crit chance with arcane spells because we always go into Lunar Eclipse, except when we go into our cooldowns, then we get crit chance with nature and arcane spells at the same time. But what does this mean? This means that it's always very important to pull Astral Power before we switch into an Eclipse to have Star Surge to spend with the increased crit, because when we enter the Eclipse, we get the increased crit chance. In the next video, you see me setting up for an AoE pull. I pull my cooldowns. Right on top you see that I have 2 both buffs. It's of course the nature and arcane damage. In my weak hours I only track 1 buff because I only need to know the time of course. Then after my cooldowns are over, you'll see me go into a normal eclipse, a normal lunar eclipse, and then you see the buff appear again. Now I know I have increased crit chance, so you basically want to spend as much Astral Power during that window. Then next up we have Nature's Grace. This is a buff we gain when Eclipse ends or when we re-enter combat, to get us faster into an Eclipse again, because it reduces the cast time of our next 2 fillers, which means Wrath or Starfire. This buff has 2 stacks and there's some min-max going on, which I will show in the video right now. I dotted the mobs and got in combat, so I got 2 stacks. I pop my cooldowns. You want to use your 2 Nature's Grace stacks first, then pop your Warrior of Elune because you don't want to overlap the 2 with each other. Then after my cooldowns are over, you need to watch at the timing that I cast Wrath. I do it when I'm in my cooldowns, so I maintain one of the Nature's Grace stacks into my next Eclipse. Here you guys can see it again in slow-mo. Then we are gonna talk about Waning Twilight. This is a buff that we don't really need to track, but I think it's important to point it out for a better understanding of the spec. So this passive gives us increased damage on the target when our target has 3 periodic effects on them. We only have control over 2 periodic effects called our Moonfire and Sunfire. We proc this effect by random proc. So for example, Astral Smolder, which is in our talent tree, or our tier set, our mushrooms that proc will also cause us to do more damage. So just keep that in mind, that this is not something that we can control, but if you have an extra proc of your mushrooms, that just counts for even more damage. Then lastly we have Umbral Embrace and Alkin Frenzy procs. These occur random. It is important to notice that after we consume an Umbral Embrace proc, we get Umbral Inspiration, which increases our Moonfire, Sunfire, Stellar Flare, which is the dot we use when we play single target talents, Shooting Stars and Starfall by 30% for 6 seconds. And with the Alkin Frenzy proc, it's important to notice that Warrior of Elune charges are consumed before these procs. And of course, it's the best to use these procs when we are inside Incarn for the most damage. And otherwise we just use it in an Eclipse, of course. Next we talk about our cooldown management. We have 3 spells that basically have a cooldown. Our Incarn, that is 1.5 minutes, and we have 2 stacks of course. Our Warrior of Elune, which is 45 seconds, and our Fury of Elune, which cooldown decreases when we use arcane spells, because that's a hero talent that we have. CD management as a balanced druid in Mythic Plus of course depends on a lot of variables, but these are the main things that you need to focus on. First, always try to send your Warrior of Elune, your 45-second cooldown, inside of your Incarn. If your charges are recharging and you can weave a Warrior of Elune in there and have it back for when your Incarn is back, of course you can just send your 45 seconds inside of your Eclipse without Incarn. Also, always take key level and route into account. How higher you go, try to also know when a boss has some RP before they start, or when a boss dies and you need to run to the other side. Take IPA from Cinderbrew as an example. Often I set my 45-second cooldowns on that boss when it's almost dead, because we need to run to the other side, so I will have them back. And lastly, use Fury of Elune on CD, but if it's possible to line it up with your Incarn, you always want to do that of course. And it's very important that you always press Fury of Elune before you go into Incarn, because otherwise you lose that GCD into your Incarn when you could spend it on Starfire or Starfall. I'm just gonna show you how I'll do it when I'm in a Mythic Plus run. So we will just start with the dotting. Then we press Fury of Elune. We press our Incarn. We want to use our Nature Grace procs. Then we go over into Warrior of Elune. See, we still have Umbral Intensity because we had an Umbral proc in there. I made a mistake because I didn't press my ref fast enough, so I didn't have a Nature's Grace proc inside of my Eclipse. Let's try if I can actually get that right now. I'm gonna overcap, but it's kind of okay, it's fine. You saw that I actually had a Dreamstate proc inside of my Eclipse this time. And my Warrior of Elune is coming out, so I press because my Eclipse stopped. So I get 2 of the Nature's Grace inside of my cooldowns again. And I just press my Warrior of Elune. And now I was too late. No, I was actually in time. Like, that is just like something that you need to practice. Like, of course, like in a Mythic Plus run, sometimes you need to move. Like, you will maybe not be able to cast that. Just a little min-max. It isn't like the worst if you don't do it. But it's important to know. So I hope this was clear. And then we can go over to our utility. I posted our general tree next to me. And I marked options with a red circle. I switched between these options, between keys. I know, for example, I want 1 minute roar in TOP because we often skip 2 mini bosses in the arena boss area. And incap roar on the down left. I play with it because I bug a lot. and it gives me an extra stun basically, especially in Priory, for example, to stun the footmans whenever they do their defense shield. These talents, of course, it's not like the best. It depends on comp, it depends on a lot of stuff. So look at it, or look at logs from like high-end players that play with certain talent builds to find the right utility to use in the key that you're gonna play. And of course, I cannot stretch it enough. Innervate, use it on your healer. It's actually insane. It speeds up the key also when they don't have to drink a lot. Typhoon is also very useful, or the Typhoon Vortex combo is also insane, of course. So just use your utility. You will time your key, of course. What I also wanted to show is that wild charge is of course also a very useful utility. You can use it in the workshop, for example, to charge back to the boss so you don't get knocked into Narnia. You can wild charge the skip in Dark Flame Cleft. Let me show it for you guys. This one, if someone is just standing here on the side, you can just wild charge to them, so you don't need to do the jump if you cannot do that like me often. So that's very nice, and I always recommend, if you play balance, Night Elf is really the best race that you can be, especially if you get aggro when you're like with a pug tank and you're dotting. Suddenly you get aggro, you can just melt it. Also, melt gives you the Dreamstate procs back. So if you are in your cooldowns, you want those Dreamstate procs, you can just melt during your cooldowns. You get 2 of those procs back, which is actually a DPS increase. So Night Elf is really good for Balanced Druid. Another thing is you want to track shields on your frames. I already made a TikTok about it. I'll just let it play here so you guys can see. But showing shields and knowing when you have a big shield from your Disc Priest if you play with one, it's actually very useful for us to know when we press our defensive. Also, being aware of your Omni CD is a very good thing if you see the priest still has barrier or has a pain sub, or you know, it's helpful. And I think it helps to be aware of those raid cooldowns, so you can maybe hold your bark skin for a different time, which will also help out your healer, of course. And lastly, guys, the macro section. I'll put the macros down in the description below with a description what it does, so you guys can just copy and paste them if you want to use them. Thank you for watching my guide till the end. I really do appreciate it a lot. Don't forget to like and subscribe so I can make more content and keep on doing this. And if you guys miss anything, any information that you think, yeah, this should be in here, don't be shy to comment that. And if you have any more questions, you can also just comment that. I'll try to respond as fast as possible. And then I wish you guys a happy day, and I'll see you guys in another video another time.